r/ask Reddit. What's something that can't be explained? It must be experienced? Nostalgia. It's so much more than just missing the past. It's a very strange blend of sad and happy. I've never been able to describe it until you've given me the idea. To elaborate, it might be a sadness due to missing how happy you felt during you did whatever the nostalgic thing was. You know that you'll never get the experience back even if you tried. But just the thought of the nostalgic thing makes you happy enough to equalize that emptiness. Dream logic chronology. Sometimes you can't put into words what happened in your dream, or how two things were true at the same time. But when you experience it, it makes perfect sense. I think the hardest part of dream logic is how in your dream head, at least in my dreams, I'll be in a situation with an entire backstory and set of memories and reasonings for why what's occurring already in my head. So the dream could start with me in a store, and that's how I would explain it. But in my dream head I know I'm there because I need a gift for my sister and she was attacked by a horse, so I can't get anything with horses on it, and the clerk is giving me weird looks because she knows about the horse thing but she loves horses. So I'm offending her and she's going to go home and tell her family that if I tell anyone it'd be yeah I was in this store and it was weird. The moment when you are playing an instrument and you aren't really making decisions on what you are playing, the music just flows out. I've had this and it's actually a small problem. I play the saxophone and whenever I have that instinctual playing, I have to try my best to not smile since it could ruin my embouchure. OMG yes. I play the piano and sometimes I just randomly play these long beautiful pieces that just come out of my fingers. Then my mom's like you should write that down and I literally can't. Color. I've always imagined how I'd explain colors to a person who was born blind. My so is colorblind and one day we were listening to the 311 song Amber and he asked me what amber looked like and it was so interesting to try to explain. Or he'll ask what color something is and I'll say something like sea foam green and he'll just look at me and be like okay that's a fake color. You never realize how wide your color spectrum is until you're always with someone who doesn't share it. When you fall for a terrible person and gloss over all of their flaws, doesn't matter how hard your friends try to explain. Or acknowledging those flaws, knowing how much they hurt, and being 100% okay with that. The delicious sting of unhealthy love. I'm struggling to find the words to tell you, to be honest. It's hard to explain an anxiety attack unless you've had one. My mother used to get them and I never understood what she was going through until I started having them later on in life. I started having panic attacks at age 13 and didn't have the right vocabulary to explain what was happening. My mom always told me it was depression, so I just figured that what it was. So for many years I was being treated for depression. And just like wow this thing keeps happening where I can't breathe and I think I'm gonna die and stuff. It wasn't until I was probably 20 when I learned the phrase panic attack and I was like shit I've had so many of those. Once I was able to tell my psychiatrist I was suffering from panic attacks, she finally got me the right meds and I started learning techniques for managing them. Game changer. Anxiety blows. The effect of chronic pain on one's mental health. The effects of chronic pain and the lack of understanding from others. Over the years, family and friends just forget because it's gone on so long. But it's still there, sometimes worse than ever. It's exhausting. An orgasm. It's a lot like squeezing a bag of sand. Psychosis. Not a true description, but they tried to get really close with Hillblade. Senna's sacrifice. As someone who has had a psychosis I would say that they got it as close to correct as is possible with a game, without going inside the player's head, so to speak. I would be interested in trying the game in VR if they decide to release a VR version at some point. Getting old. It just plain sucks and nothing can prepare you for it. Your body starts doing weird shit. Everything hurts. Your brain starts going and you actually can recognize it, but damn it just is depressing. And it can come sooner than you think. When I got carpal tunnel and arthritis from yard work in my early 30s I felt that, and so it begins. The pain of losing a loved one. I'm going to say the realization of your own mortality. It's always an obscure concept that always seems so far away until in one terrifying moment it becomes a crystal clear fact of reality. Imposter syndrome. At least for me when I try to explain to people. You have 5 years of good experience, but for some reason you're always fearful somebody will call you out on the fact you're just making it up and have no idea what you're doing. Going up the stairs and putting your foot down thinking there's one more step at the top than there actually is. I did this on my porch step coming down and put my entire body weight down on my right foot and instantly shattered it in 6 places. Shudder duck. That hurt. No going back. I want to say virtual reality. Lots of people think it's a gimmick without trying it. I think the real issue with VR is most people don't get to experience it properly. Mostly it's just the headset and controls sitting in your living room, which may not be enough to convince some. Personally, I'd love to try a full VR rig, but I'll probably never get the chance. That feeling when your nose is clogged but then you get into the right position and your nose frees up. And then the other nostril closes. Depression. I feel this so much. Most of the time it's not even sadness, just emptiness. Yeah, and then with anxiety mixed in. I can't describe it. Scuba diving. Came here to say this. People think it is like swimming. It's more like floating in space while visiting another planet. A full solar eclipse. I came here to say this. There is no comparison between 99% and 100%. It's 2.5 minutes I'll never, ever forget. People look at me funny when I say this, but combat. After I returned from overseas, people would ask me what it was like, but I honestly couldn't explain it in a way that they could really understand. The risks far outweighed the rewards, but I gather that if you talk to a lot of veterans who saw combat, many of them will look upon it almost fondly. There's nothing like it. No amount of skydiving or other extreme sports come close to the exhilaration and rush of being shot at and retuning fire. It's an experience unmatched by anything in the world, where the only difference between life and death is if you're better at making subtle aiming changes. Sounds bloodthirsty, and I'm not saying it's a fun thing to kill people or see others get killed. It's just one of those things that you have to experience to really understand what I'm talking about. Standing on a pier or in a boat and seeing nothing but ocean surrounding you on all sides. How can you be on a pier but surrounded by ocean? Finally feeling like you are an adult. The best I can say is it does happen. And it happens after the time you get the no one knows anything epiphany. And it doesn't happen for everyone. But once you get there, you know. It's like a general comfort and confidence. But those words mean nothing unless you've experienced what I'm trying to describe. Why people like math? I'd say it's because of the satisfaction of there being an exact answer to most things inherently mathematical. There's no real thought to it. The answer is the answer, and here's the proof. It's quite calming in a world where nothing is completely as it seems. Being a parent. You've spent your whole life as half of a parent-child relationship and you think you've got it worked out. Hell, you even have a dog and there's that relationship. But nothing prepares you for the amount of love, the I would happily die to protect this creature, and the responsibility. It's amazing and you just don't get it until it happens to you. At least I didn't. I really don't know how to describe it, but it's a weird taste in my throat that comes randomly from nowhere. ADHD. You can tell people how you feel and how your brain works, but it's usually met by "oh, I do that sometimes. Maybe I have it," or an awkward laugh and a blank stare because they can't relate. How on earth do I explain the panic attacks, loss of focus, the feeling of spiraling, the loneliness, the hyperfocus, rejection sensitivity, heightened feelings, like I really wish I didn't feel my feelings so deeply, etc. It's very hard to explain, and my fiance is still dealing with trying to understand all sides to it. There's also the desperate feeling of wanting to be normal, and trying to tell myself there's nothing wrong with me. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.